Alright, let's do some Book of Demons. So I upgraded my Fireball. Somebody was actually complaining about this, and I have to admit I am stupid. We got a separate, was it a separate shield? Yeah, I don't know why I'm not using this shield instead, because this is straight up better. I just was like, yeah, the effect isn't that amazing, so I'm not even going to think about it. But in reality, yeah, I should have just had the better shield on at all times. Okay, so we're just going to do very big. Probably. Or maybe very small. I'm trying to decide how this works. Because it says rewards 5 plus progress 2%. As opposed to this, which is progress 13%. So, really it's the question of money versus... Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we should go very big anyway. Let's see, you want to know what else is in Diablo? Path of Exile. I think once I'm done with this series, I'll do Path of Exile. Or Torchlight. I gotta try. I want to do a full series on pretty much every Diablo-like. It's just there's so many of them. There's so many of them, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to do it. I'd like to. Because I've also got, what is it, Warhammer 40k Inquisitor. I've got... Oh, they'll just be back at some point. I've got Warhammer 40k Inquisitor. I've got, Victor Vran. Oh, God. This is maybe a little bit more than I want to deal with. I'm just gonna... Oh, right. Should probably pull out the Manosphere. Because it's actually quite helpful. I've also got Twitch integration off for the time being. I'm pretty tired, and everybody asked for it off. So what we might do is just, like, do a special round at some point where I just turn it on, like, Super Max and just see what happens. You need to get Torchlight too. It's pretty fun, honestly. I legitimately really like the Torchlight games. It's one of my favorite indie series ever, and was, like, one of the places that I wanted to work at before my dreams of becoming a game developer were replaced with dreams of becoming a hot dang YouTuber. And well, one worked out and the other closed down. And unless they've changed it, I believe Runic Games is currently hosting me right now and will forever, which makes me really sad because I really liked Runic Games. But that was like, I don't know, the last... Ow! Wow, this guy hurts. Get out of here. Ooh, boy. That was a hurty dude. We could use some durability. My problem is, like, I always want to play Diablo games multiplayer, but it always never works out. Like, I've always wanted to do, a big team Path of Exile run. But anybody I've ever attempted to do it with, YouTube-wise, usually flakes out pretty hard. I don't want to get out of the way. These are some terrible zombies. I should destroy that. Run away a little bit. And, like, I tried it with fans. And that actually worked even worse. Because it was a bunch of fans that knew what they were doing in the game. Which meant... more or less, I actually was straight up unable to play. Because they all had, like, minion master builds and stuff. And so I'd, like, walk into a level, and there would just be nothing left. And I was eventually just like, no. Oh. Oh, boy. This became a mess. No, stop that. Stop that. No. Thank you, Fireball, for making this a little easier. Oh. Get your armor out of here. No, stop that. Let me hit you. This guy is a nuisance through and through. Eat fire! Thank you. And what did we get? What did we get? Ooh! Upgraded fireball? Oh, no, meteor. Burns and strikes the ground under your target by conjuring a fire meteor. One meteor destroys shields on direct hit. Direct hit damage 10. Cooldown time. Ooh, fancy. Might be pretty good. But yeah, so I think if I ever do Path of Exile properly, I'll probably do it solo up until, like, endgame content and actually do it properly. Or do it with Shell, or, you know, 1 or 2 other people that are the same, like, level as me. It worked great with Diablo 3, to be totally honest. When Shell and I were playing Diablo 3, it was on the Switch, which was all on one screen, which, you know, of course makes it incredibly easy to keep up with the other person, because you're stuck to the same screen as them. Hello. Mass Dispels. Oh. Interesting. Might be useful, might not be. You upgrade that card, does it become a meteor? Oh! Now, with Path of Exile, you kind of need to decide on a working build before you start, otherwise you get nowhere. I really wish for Path of Exile they'd actually just make it that you can freely switch your build around constantly. I realize that that's kind of against the spirit of how they want to do things, but considering how beginner-unfriendly it currently is, get out of here. Guy hurts. He's got so much shields. Jumps away. Get out of here. At least he doesn't get his shields back. I'll give it that. Oh, right. Poison is good against spiders. Unfortunately, I don't have any poison. It does bug me a little bit that the spiders remain untargetable for a moment after they land on the ground. Their hitbox has problems. Can you stop? Ah! Why do we have Matryoshka spiders? I mean, like, I get, like, a spider exploding into smaller spiders because, you know, it's got eggs on it. But why is it that we get one spider and it explodes into the next one, and then into the next one? But, like, I feel like, for Path of Exile, especially with how cool the character building is, they really should let you, switch around constantly, because there's nothing more fun than switching your build on the fly and, like, trying out new things. And it's kind of a darn shame that they lock you into one singular build, and it's like, nope, this is what you're stuck with for the rest of your character, with some amount of, like, switching around. I realize I'm probably going to get some serious grumps from, Oh, we're done. Wait, why is... That's not all gold yet, then. It's clear. Alright, that's confusing. Let's go back to town. Let's go check out that new card.
Sighting a demon is grim news indeed, as such creatures cannot travel far from their infernal circles. Hordes of demons roaming free in the dungeons under the cathedral can only mean one thing. The tunnels go much deeper than we ever thought. They must reach hell itself. If that is the case, it is inevitable that the darkness will spread, eventually reaching the surface. Physical forms of demons vary greatly and come in all shapes and sizes. They feed on fear and human weakness, just like our fortune-telling friend.
This guy really can't, like, let it go. Okay, Healer's Cold Nova of Time of Blast. What? Ice damage, slows hit monsters, freeze chance. Hit icicles spawn new shockwaves, knocks back monsters, heals on use, cooldown decreased by 10%, chance... Okay, that actually seems, like, really good. I mean, as one hell of a mouthful. I'm gonna try that instead of, Zeus's Fork. I like the idea of Zeus's Fork, but it just... I think I need, knockback more than anything else. Let's see. You can always respec your points. And to freely respec would run the same problem as Diablo 3. You'd never have the reason to make a second character the same class. Why should you have to make a second character the same class? That's a, like, that's actually what is like a minor turnoff for me. The only reason why I want to make a second class is if I wanted to experiment with have two characters that I could freely switch between. So what's this one do? Protects you from crits and knockback. Oh, might be useful. Once I have more slots, probably. Like, to be totally honest, the idea of making a second character just so I could play a different build doesn't appeal to me. I'd rather make a second character of a different class.
This chest will try to fight.
Alright. Should probably bring the orb back up. I don't know. I guess maybe I'm not exactly a core player for Path of Exile, but like as a semi-casual person as opposed to a person like super committed to the game, the idea of more or less being encouraged to make multiple characters just to try an experiment bores me. Like I prefer games like well, I prefer stuff like how... Oh, there's a bunch. I prefer how, like... Oh, hi. How, like, Final Fantasy XIV handles things, which specifically... You know, obviously... Well, obviously, I don't know how many of you know... Oh, God! Dang, this guy hurts. There's so many spiders. I'm glad I took a look around, because there's so many spiders! Stop! Exploding into more spiders! Recursive. But no, I prefer the, I prefer the Final Fantasy XIV style, where it's like, yeah, you have one character and you can just switch between all the classes freely. Because I feel like that would actually make me more inclined to play a game, than, you know, starting over endlessly. You know, at least with Diablo 3 to some degree, you've got, like, adventure mode, which kind of opens it up a little bit, but, like, every time I play Path of Exile, it's kind of largely the same for the first, like, till end game. And so it makes it, like, tougher as a casual player. Oh. Time for another round of this. Just gonna kill these guys if I can. If you spend enough time, you can respec almost the whole tree, but it gets expensive to do it. And, like, I can see how that, like, works for hardcore and dedicated players, but as, like, somebody that's never played the series before, it's a huge turnoff. It's like how, Warframe specifically, the grind is such, like, a love it or leave it kind of situation. I really hate these webs. That's usually why I stay away from most MMOs, because I just straight up don't have enough time. It's why, you know, I bring up, like, completing Torchlight, for example, because it feels like it would be less of a bother. Oh, don't have any more fireballs. There we go. He always explodes into a equal HP baby that hangs and poisons. No, this one doesn't hang. This one explodes into little poison novas. But I think I'm also arguing from the perspective of, like, a particularly... I'm gonna say I'm, like, a just super generic player. I don't really have the time or interest to commit myself to one game for, like, you know, a week or a month. So the idea of having, like, you know, a game specifically involve like a bunch of extra grinding to be uninteresting. You know, with this game, for example, like, unless I really want to complete a lot of the, like, ridiculous endgame stuff, I'm probably going to beat not Diablo and then move on. And so, like, when I encounter a new game, that would require, like, honestly as much effort as, say, I guess EDF requires, like, a decent amount of effort to actually finish. I'm sure I could throw it on easy mode and actually probably just cakewalk through it. But that takes, like, multiple attempts per mission and, like, a bunch of other, like, strategic changes and so on and so forth. If I ran into, like, multiple games like that in a given week, I'd probably just quit a couple of them and focus on the ones that I enjoy the most. Generally, I like games that respect my time. And this game is kind of an easy example of that, because, yeah, it straight up attempts to scale itself based on how much time it takes to clear levels and whatnot, which I find really, really encouraging. Let's see, is it fair to say you're a professional casual? I'm a little bit more than a casual, though. Like, I will play hard games, as evidenced by, well, what I was just doing in EDF. The thing is, like, I have a very low tolerance for... I'm not exactly gonna say bullshit, because, like, there's... I mean, every game has bullshit, and you kind of have to get used to it. But I have a very low tolerance for games, like, specifically wasting my time. And I guess I'm also particularly sensitive to user-unfriendly mechanics and, like, design choices, because if I run into too many user-unfriendly design mechanics in a day, for example, I get kind of pissed off. Because, like, I've been playing games. I've been playing... streaming for 4.5 hours at this point. And, you know, playing something that's not fun, kind of ruins the experience for at least a little while. It really depends on the game. So sometimes I might have, like, a cursed day where it's just, like, too much. Grim Dawn is a good Diablo, like, dude, there's so many. Like, we had this conversation the other day. There's tons. Victor Vran, Grim Dawn. Titan Quest is pretty good. A little dated, but whatever. Let's reset that. That is going to freeze my ass. At least the fireballs just destroy him, which is nice. Like, I guess an easy example is I don't really like invasions in Dark Souls. Not because the concept is bad. In fact, I really like the idea of enemy players coming to attack you and so on and so forth. But I've never liked how unbalanced it can get. Because I've straight up had hackers attack me, the same guy attack me over and over and over again. Like mad twinks and stuff like that. You know, people that have way endgame gear that can one-shot you. You know, before the bell tower, the belfry gargoyles in Dark Souls 1. And it's like, it's not fun to have that happen, especially repeatedly. It always baffles, it always, like, blows my mind that they think it's such a beloved mechanic when, like, half the time, whenever a new Dark Souls game comes out, I immediately just hear of hackers do blank and don't get punished for it repeatedly. And... it's like, I would love it actually if invaders were like the what is it, there's the what is the boss fight? Is it the Mirror Knight? Or is it Tower Knight or something? There's a boss fight in Dark Souls 2 that specifically has like a dude with a mirror shield, and a player can invade through that shield and fight you during the boss fight. And I think that's really rad. I mean, obviously it kind of sucked when I was experiencing it, because the NPC invader is way dumber than an actual player. But, like, I much prefer that system to, you know, anybody that can just roll in with way high-level equipment, or, like, I think I ran into a guy with, like, 99 endurance or something and was running around in full Havel. Before, oh jeez, I don't even remember where it was in Dark Souls 2, but it was a problem. Let's see. Path of Exile devs have agreed that their player base is people who like depth and grind. They know it's not for everyone and specifically cater to the target audience. I think that's fair, but also a mistake, because you can cater to both audiences without a problem. Honestly, the real trick is just having a substantive endgame and a relatively possible, like, main story. I'm not saying, like, you should be able to, like, cakewalk through the main story, but if you want to be able to reach the end game, it should almost be like free respecs until you hit end game, and then you have one more free respec, and then that's just the end, and then it's just all grind and good luck from there. And I don't feel like that would be a particularly punishing system. Because, yeah, I'm actually afraid to learn and experiment in Path of Exile, because I don't straight up have the time. So instead I have to, like, go hunting for whatever the, like, optimum build is, because, yeah, if I want to do any endgame, I have to do, like, mad research before I even pick up the game. Because I'm probably only ever... once I beat Path of Exile, I'm never going to play it again. Unless they, like, add new stuff, and even then, I don't know. But I'm also, like, a YouTuber... I'm a variety YouTuber streamer situation. So I realize that, like, catering to me is tough to begin with. Because I pretty much just beat games and then never look at them again. So they only heal, like, 1 or 2 hearts. I could just fireball them to death and actually have it work about as fast. Stop that. And that guy hurts. Let's see, there are plenty of viable builds. Started last week in the new league with different builds. And you're at the late 70s now with a few hours every day. I get that, but as, like, somebody that's never played Path of Exile before, I know most people, like, whenever they get into it, like, quit, they cite the lack of user-friendliness on the whole building aspect and obviously respecking as the reason why they don't want to play again. And I feel like, you don't want to, like, you never want to make it World of Warcraft levels of, like, stupid easy, because that just kind of wrecks your game in a bad way. But there's a difference between, like, legitimate challenge and whatnot and player difficulty. Or, no. Legitimate challenge and, like, player friendliness. And so, yeah, there are plenty of viable builds for Path of Exile, but you kind of have to know what you're doing before you can even come up with any of them. And that's, like, my sticking point, because as somebody that, you know, would actually like to just kind of experiment the first time around, the idea that it's going to take me hours to dig myself out of whatever hole I create in the first place, doesn't appeal that much. Well, this is kind of working. And I feel like a lot of games kind of have that problem of the... I'm gonna call it like a suffering tax, or like a... I mean, it really is the get good tax. And a lot of players like to kind of pride themselves in, like, you just need to get good, and then everything will be okay. And I get that, and it's like... like, you can't get rid of too much of that. But I feel like the challenge usually should be baked into the actual game itself, and not into, like, back-end management and stuff. Okay, this Cold Nova is working way better. I'll see if I can upgrade it. Especially because it's got a nice heal, too. But don't forget my Mana Warp. It's a little easy to forget. It'd be kind of nice if there was a recast option for some of these spells. Specifically Mana Sphere. Just keep it active all times. Whoops, that's the wrong one. Oh well. Because what game had particularly fun experimenting? I actually really don't like, I don't like Diablo 3, because it doesn't have enough micromanagement. Like, I feel like Diablo 3's system of being able to, like, quick swap all of your abilities is kind of attractive, but I don't feel like it has quite enough micromanagement to appeal to me. Comparatively. But Path of Exile kind of goes in the opposite direction of... Oh, this is the boss here. This is the guy I should be hitting. You know, Path of Exile goes in the opposite direction of a lot of control, but no flexibility. At least as a newer player. Because, yeah, once you're locked in on that build, you are locked in, and I was like, eh... Well, that's a quick phase. Oh, is he dead? He is dead.
Great.
Oh, is this a legendary card? It is a legendary card. Awesome. Let's see, the last Dragon Quest. I don't... Dragon Quest was a good game, but I don't feel like it had a whole lot of customization to it. I'm trying to think. Because, yeah, with games like Final Fantasy X, it doesn't matter if you're locked in as much, because there's no endgame, there's no grind, it's not meant to keep you there forever. So it's not as big of a deal if you're kind of locked in a direction. And it's an RPG, so you can kind of just grind past it all. But, oh, he's just barely locking me in place. The knockback fire combo with the, get out of here. Nope. Yeah, the knockback fire combo actually works really, really well with the Cold Wave. How about Divinity? Divinity was pretty good, because, yeah, you could respec freely. Yeah. Actually, there's a good answer. Divinity Original Sin 2 had fantastic amounts of customization. The amount of crazy things that you could do in that game if you had the right build... was really satisfying. And, like, you can go as you can go through the whole thing and kind of switch on the fly repeatedly. The only real drawback is the fact that, gear and equipment can sometimes hold you back on the build. Like, it took me the entire series of Divinity Original Sin to even get 100% fire resistance as a like dedicated fire mage. And that kind of sucked a little bit, because I wanted to be like a little bit above, so I could more or less just be standing in a hellfire storm, wrecking people while healing slowly. And that was something I could pull off a little bit faster in Divinity 1, and it made me a bit sad.
The most cowardly person I have ever met. Nowadays, we're all frightened. But I swear a loud barking dog would give that man a heart attack. But you know what? I respect him more because he stayed. That must have been very difficult for him. Makes me think he must have other reasons to be here. Sometimes I get the feeling he feels guilty about something he had done and decided to stay to make amends. I also noticed how he changed after the bishop vanished and folks started talking about strange rituals happening in the cathedral. Of course, he wouldn't tell me anything. Maybe you'll have more luck talking to him.
Anything else? Oh, yeah.
There can be no doubt about it. The bishop and his foul rituals are the source of this evil scourge. When he proclaimed himself the anti-pope, he not only committed sacrilege, but also gained unholy power that allowed him to unleash the infernal hordes upon this land. But it was only possible because of me. It was I who found the manuscript with forbidden knowledge and gave it to him. Oh, I should have kept it hidden. As soon as I showed it to him, I saw his spirit crumbling as he struggled with dark temptations. But I did nothing. So I too must carry the weight of his sins. There, I've finally said it. What I lack in courage, I try to make up for with prayer. That's why I believe you are our champion, and I must help you. Each day I conquer my fear and remain here. It is my penance.